You really haven't yet addressed why Izzy Stradlin left GNR. If you would, explain what happened and, more importantly, how you feel about Izzy.
I feel like shit all over me, and I wiped it off and ain't too happy that it happened. I think for a long period of time Izzy wanted to be more independent, but Guns N' Roses took off fast, and he was such a part of it, it was hard to take that step. That's my opinion. There are certain responsibilities to Guns N' Roses that Izzy didn't want to face. He basically didn't want to work as hard at certain things as we did. He pretty much just showed up before we went on stage, would get upset that I wasn't on time, played, then split. There were times when we would get off stage, and 5 minutes later he was gone. He didn't socialize with the band on any level, and he had a real problem being sober and being around us. Izzy's always been very compulsive and impulsive, and although he's quit abusing various substances, he still hasn't gotten to the base of the reason why he was abusive. He hasn't solved that, so instead of doing drugs, drinking and womanizing, he was keeping himself busy traveling, bicycling and buying lots of toys. There's nothing wrong with any of that, except that he wasn't able to do the things required of him in Guns N' Roses. Getting Izzy to work hard on the album was like pulling fucking teeth. Everybody dreaded it. Nobody would go by the studio while he was there, because no one wanted to deal with it. He's play something out of key, and we'd ask him to do it again, and he'd be like, "Why? I just did it." Izzy was very unsupportive of me in general. He was very concerned about his free time, and he didn't have a whole lot of understanding of what it takes me to do my job. As far as I'm concerned, he was a lazy, selfish user. There are ways that I miss him and wish it could have gone on, but he was a real fucking asshole to me. I was always a massive Izzy fan and supporter, but now that he's working with Alan Niven, former GNR manager, fuck him, and you can print this. Even if we work things out between us, I won't regret what's coming out in this interview, because it's how I feel. I'm glad we got the songs out of him that we did, and I'm glad he's gone.
He really hurt you, her.
You wanna know how he really hurt me? When he came up here to my fucking house and acted like, "What's wrong, man? It's really weird." I knew he was coming. I could literally feel his car driving up as I was getting dressed. I went outside and sat down, because he couldn't come into my house. I couldn't act like he was my friend after what he had done to me. He came up and acted like he hadn't done anything, but he let us down at a weird time. It wasn't like someone leaving the band because they couldn't take it anymore. He left in a shitty way. Izzy called up members of the band and tried to turn them against me by saying that I pushed him out, and that's not how it went down. He said a lot of shit behind my back. He tried to make a power play and damage us on his way out, and that's real fucked up.
Want to talk about another former member of Guns, drummer Steven Adler?
The misconception is that we kicked him out for the hell of it, and that I was the dictator behind it. The truth is, I probably fought a little harder to keep him in the band, because I wasn't working with him on a daily basis like the other guys were. They grew tired of not being able to get their work done because Steven wasn't capable of it. I've read interviews where he's saying that he's straight. Most of the time he isn't. He's the type of person who wants everything handed to him, and he did get it handed to him. He got it handed to him from me. At one point, in order to keep this band together, it was necessary for me to give him a portion of my publishing rights. That was one of the biggest mistakes I've made in my life, but he threw such a fit, saying he wasn't going to stay in the band. We were worried about not being able to record our first album, so I did what I felt I had to do. In the long run I paid very extensively for keeping Steven in Guns N' Roses. I paid $1.5 million by giving him 15% of my publishing off of Appetite for Destruction. He didn't write one goddamn note, but he calls me a selfish dick. He's been able to live off of that money, buy a shitload of drugs and hire lawyers to sue me. If and when he loses the lawsuit he has against us, and he has to pay those lawyers, if he has any money left, it'll be the money that came from Guns N' Roses and myself. At this point I really don't care what happens to Steven Adler, because he's taken himself out of my life, out of my care and concern. I feel bad for him in ways, because he's a real damaged person, but he's making choices to keep himself in that damage. There's nothing we can do at this point. We took him to rehabs, we threatened his drug dealers, we helped him when he slashed his wrists. I even forgave him after he nearly killed my wife. I had to spend a night with her in an intensive care unit because her heart had stopped thanks to Steven. She was hysterical, and he shot her up with a speedball. She had never done jack shit as far as drugs go, and he shoots her up with a mixture of heroin and cocaine. I kept myself from doing anything to him. I kept the man from being killed by members of her family. I saved him from having to go to court, because her mother wanted him held responsible for his actions. And the son of a bitch turns on me? I mean, yeah, I'm a difficult person to deal with, and I'm a pain in the ass to understand, and I have had my share of problems, but Steven benefited greatly from his involvement with me, more than I did from knowing him. Steven had a lot of fans, but he was a real pain in the ass. I need to keep him in my life for you. Fuck you.
Now that we have taken care of that, what about the flip side of the coin, the new guys, especially guitarist Gilby Clarke?
Gilby is awesome, and a pleasure to be around. He works the stage and the crowd really well. Also, he helps give us a sense of rock and roll normalcy, if there is such thing. Gilby has a way of understanding and dealing with situations that makes the whole trip more tolerable. His insights from being on the outside of GNR helps us. He has his opinions of what's going on with us, and it helps us get a different perspective. Duff and myself have been in GNR for so long and are so close to it that sometimes we don't see things like other people would. Every now and then he will say something to me, and I will go, wow, I didn't see it that way. He's been putting himself through his own rock and roll education with his other groups for years. Now he's a part of Guns N' Roses.
Is he a member of Guns N' Roses?
This member thing is quite interesting. I read in an interview where Matt said that if he didn't get made a member, he wasn't going to be in Guns N' Roses. The truth of the matter is, Matt's a member of GNR, but it doesn't really mean anything. It's kind of like a clubhouse gang thing. We're all members of this gang. What it boils down to is, whose yard is the treehouse in? Matt's a member of GNR, and his opinions are taken into consideration. As far as that's concerned, Gilby is a member too. Izzy is a member of the band. With all the background singers, horn players, keyboardists, we look at it like we are all Guns N' Roses. But the bottom line is, the business is basically run by Slash and myself. Then we run whatever it is we're discussing by Duff and see if he's cool with it. Guns N' Roses is basically Slash, Duff, Doug Goldstein and myself, but there's a lot of other people involved that are a part of our lives and a part of our family.
Do you think Matt's gonna be pissed when he reads this?
It would be nice if he wasn't. I love everybody in this band. It's kicking ass and feels really warm and really cool on stage. At this point it's the 12 of us that get on stage and fucking go all out.
There's 12 of you?
There's Truddy, there's Izzy, there's Roberta, Tracy, Lisa, CC, N, Gilby, Matt, Duff, Slash and me. Slash put this new band together, did all of the groundwork. He did such an amazing job that I just can't believe it really happened. I'm glad to be a part of it. It's a pretty huge thing, and we might even add some dancers. like we used to have back in the old troubadour days. It's something we have considered.
When you and Slash aren't at each other's throats, you are really a force to be reckoned with.
Let me say something about us being at each other's throats. We haven't really been that way in the past year and a half. I love the guy. We are like opposite poles of energy, and we balance each other out. We push each other to work harder and complement each other that way. We had a run-in in Dayton, Ohio, because both myself and Dougie thought he said something shitty to me on stage. That was the night I cut my hand to the bone. Backstage we have monitors much like the ones on stage, and while I was back there dealing with my hand, I thought I heard him take a pot shot at me. I wrapped my hand up in a towel and was like, let's get it taken care of, so I can finish the show. I came back on stage and was a dick to him and told him I would kick his fucking ass in front of 20,000 people. That was fucked up. I was wrong, and I apologized the second I realized I was mistaken. Someone who is supporting me as strongly as he does is a hand I never want to bite.
Axel's getting tape up. Yep, this fucking, he cut his fucking hand all the way to the bone. It's fucked up. So he's still back there. So let's do a blues jam for a bit. I can get off on time. Let's get the keyboards out and shit. We'll do it in A. This shit happens, but you know, what the fuck. Costume change. Get the fuck back. Costume change. Yeah, I was watching it on TV. Punk motherfucker. I said costume change. I said he cut his hand. Yeah, okay. You're fucking stoned. What did I say? I'll kick your ass right now. I didn't say that. I didn't fucking say that. Listen to the crowd. Isn't this fun? Did I say that? Are you getting your money's worth? Fuck yeah.